Hello there guys, Bulabo10000 here, bringing you a special video. Today is Golden Sun Day, a day where fans of the Golden Sun franchise will be letting their voices ring out across the internet in a movement to show Camelot and Nintendo that we want to see Golden Sun come back with a future game. On Twitter, if you want to help out, use the hashtag #BringGoldenSunBack or the hashtag Golden Sunday in a tweet supporting the cause. Share fan art, explain why you enjoy the games, or why you want to try out the games if you haven't played them before. There's no limit to what you can achieve or what you can say to support the series. Now, the subject of today's video is this: why I want to see Golden Sun revived, and what I'd like to see from a potential sequel. Today, I'll be talking about the Golden Sun games, why I love them so much, and why I feel this franchise should not be left on the wayside any longer. Now, one of my first major Nintendo videos to go viral was my Isaac for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate video. Isaac made it into the game as an assist trophy, and we've seen spirits for Felix and Matthew, the other protagonists of the Golden Sun games, so the Golden Sun franchise is receiving a bit of attention. Through Isaac's trophy, people are asking what Golden Sun is. What are these giant hands Isaac can summon? There's a spotlight on the franchise. So, what makes the Golden Sun games stand out from other traditional JRPG series? Well, there are three major aspects to the games that I feel are important to address: the story and presentation, the puzzles, and the combat. So let's tackle these one at a time, shall we? Firstly, the story and presentation of Golden Sun. From the very first moments of the very first game in the series, you are thrust deep into the world of Golden Sun. The first hour of the original Golden Sun takes you through a range of emotions and sets up the rest of the game beautifully. You get character development, character motivations, and a reason to care about the protagonist and the cast of characters in the game. Without spoiling anything for new players, the first 30 minutes are extremely intense, culminating in an emotional and, dare I say it, heartbreaking scene that you won't soon forget. Golden Sun as a series is fairly notorious for its lengthy cutscenes and expositional dialogue throughout all three of the currently released games. This world has its own lore and its own rules, its own history, and the game wants you to know this information. Cutscenes can be extremely lengthy, and this is a legitimate complaint against the series, as there are definitely ways they could cut down some of the conversations across the three games to flow better and take less time overall. That being said, Dark Dawn negates this effect somewhat with the addition of red words. These are words in conversation that will be underlined in red, and if you click on those words during a dialogue, you get extra information to read at your leisure on the subject. So if you just want to get through a conversation, just read the normal information, click the red words, and read the extra information whenever you want. This way of handling exposition was actually a lot of fun, and made some conversations a little less weighty. It was a good way of adding to the history and lore of the world of Golden Sun, and if we get a remake or sequel, I'd like to see this feature make a return. Just a warning to any new Golden Sun players though, if the character Kraden is on screen, and he's in all three games, so fair warning, prepare for a lot of dialogue. He's a scholar, he's only doing what he loves best, hearing the sound of his own voice. If you take away the dialogue though, the actual stories in Golden Sun are fairly interesting. You've got a major goal in all three games that you need to complete, and throughout your journeys across Weyard, you'll come across different towns and settlements, some of which will need your help, some of which may just be memorable for whatever reason. Take Garrow from the Lost Age, which as you approach, the sky turns to night. Or Kolima from Golden Sun, where everyone has been turned into trees by a mysterious force. Or Ayuthe from Dark Dawn, where the city is under siege when you arrive, and your goal is to make it inside without being caught. All of these smaller quests make up a larger journey that you face in each of the games. The first Golden Sun is particularly fond of this style, as every new town or region contains its own self-contained story and quests to complete, the Thieves of Vault, the Bilibin Kalima Incident, Emil and the Mercury Lighthouse, Mogul Forest and Fujin Temple, the Silk Road, Lamakan Desert, Sailing the Katagol, Tolbi and the Colosso, the Return to Lunpa, Solhala Desert, Lalivero and Barbie's Lighthouse, and lastly, Venus Lighthouse where the game ends. Each area has its own story and significance. The Lost Age and Dark Dawn, on the other hand, provided more overarching goals, with their locations and stories as opposed to the original game. For example, the Lost Age can be split into 4 distinct missions: obtaining Pier's ship, collecting the pieces of the Trident in the Eastern Sea to enter Lemuria, the journey to Jupiter Lighthouse, and then the journey to Mars Lighthouse. Dark Dawn takes a different approach altogether, opting to merge the 2 styles from the first 2 games into one. However, that does bring up Dark Dawn's story failures in that it has points of no return. Moments where if you progress in the story, you actively lose out on exploring certain parts of the overworld map and towns, which can mean missed djinns and summons that you can never obtain again in that playthrough. This is something that needs to be removed in a sequel or remake of Dark Dawn, because the first 2 games in the series were amazing in that you could go to any point you've been on the map without trouble. It was a level of freedom that allowed for side quests to appear in locations you'd visited already, but with better skills, you can access more stuff. Dark Dawn doesn't really do that much until the very end of the game. So right now, for a remake or sequel in the Golden Sun franchise, I'd like to see the dialogue from Dark Dawn that allowed you to click words to get more detailed information, as well as scrapping any points of no return that ruin certain gameplay elements. Ensure that the player can visit anywhere on the world map at any time, and make sure to include a few extras in old locations that you can visit, with new skills to unlock summons, djinns, or new weapon and armor. And for the love of God, reduce Kraden's scenes! Next up on the list, let's discuss how Golden Sun manages to enhance its game's puzzles in a way that I haven't really seen from other JRPGs, traditional or otherwise. Golden Sun's version of magic is known as Synergy, or Psyenergy, the pronunciation doesn't matter. Synergy is split into 4 unique elements: Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Mercury, which correspond to the 4 elements Earth, Fire, Wind, and Water, respectively. People who can wield these abilities are known as Adepts, and all 16 playable characters across the franchise are Adepts, who can wield these elemental abilities in battle like a normal mage would. But Synergy is so much more than just a tool for war. In fact, shown off in the very first few moments of Golden Sun, Isaac's mother uses a grab synergy to pick his tunic off of the wall and give it to Isaac. Later on, Garrett uses the move synergy to push a log across a path, and in the first dungeon, you discover how you can use move on statues and other synergy to complete puzzles. Without a doubt, the move synergy is a groundbreaking puzzle mechanic, as it allows you to move a pillar or statue without the need to be pushing it physically. This means if you make a mistake, you don't have to leave the room and reset the puzzle. Your abilities allow you so much freedom to complete puzzles as you wish. And as you gain more adepts on your team, you gain more synergy you can use in the world map. From growing saplings into vines, carrying large rocks allowing you to move forwards, using psychic abilities to mind read anyone or anything you want, synergy is used inside and outside of battle, and its implementation into the dungeons and puzzles of all 3 games allows for Golden Sun to really shine and stand out. Take Final Fantasy games where you're often running through corridors, killing enemies, and opening doors. There's not usually many puzzles in traditional games. However, with Golden Sun, random enemy encounters are still par for the course, but you've got tons of different puzzles to break up the monotony. The Lost Age, in my opinion, has the best dungeon design in the franchise, with every single explorable location feeling memorable and unique. From the 4 elemental rocks to the 2 elemental lighthouses, the various ruins you explore to find pieces of an ancient trident, and of course, the optional dungeons which provide the best challenges in the game. Dark Dawn has some pretty fun dungeons too, the Zodiac Temple after leaving Passage, the Konpa Ruins near the start of the game, Apollo Ascent and the various puzzles used to open the gates to the final location of the game, and of course the original Golden Sun has Mercury and Venus Lighthouse, as well as one of the best puzzle-based dungeons in the franchise, Crossbone Isle, which is pure puzzling with a battle at the start of each room. The way the game shifts from traditional RPG to a genuine puzzle game, with so much utility synergy such as Move, Reveal, Mind Read, Whirlwind, Frost, Fireball, and more, it really causes you to think more often than not, and challenges players in a way that traditional RPGs just don't. On top of this, many of these puzzles give you access to collectible Djinn, which are creatures of the 4 elements which enhance your synergy abilities as you collect them, as well as items that you can often find for completing a puzzle. So, not only do we want Dark Dawn's dialogue system and the ability to explore the overworld at every point in the game, we also want more dungeons and puzzles that make use of different synergy and perhaps just more utility synergy in general. Dungeons need to also be well designed around the puzzles, of course. So lastly, we have to focus on the battle system. Golden Sun is great as an exploration-based JRPG, but the battle system needs to be on point for the amount of random encounters, boss fights, and battles you face throughout the game. And here is where I think Golden Sun has the most potential to improve, but also the toughest hurdle to overcome. There's a lot to cover here, so let's get started. Golden Sun's battle system is traditional and turn-based, where you plan your strategies and attacks each turn. Every fighter and enemy needs to attack before the next inputs are given. Players can attack with their weapon, use synergy, use an item, use a Djinn, use a summon, or defend. Attacking with a weapon can be boring or interesting depending on the weapon equipped, as most unique weapons in the Golden Sun franchise have powers called Weapon Unleashes, which unleash different effects or attacks with a certain percent of chance, similar to a critical hit. Weapon Unleashes really took off during the Lost Age though, where their abundance of special weapons meant you were always discovering new Weapon Unleashes, with the most popular being the Soul Blade's Megiddo attack, which summoned a literal sun to crash down on opponents, and with the right armor equipped, could be summoned almost every single turn to tear down opponents. Next, there's Synergy. Synergy attacks vary depending on 2 factors: your character's level and the Djinn currently equipped to your character. Characters will learn specific attacks at certain levels, but your Djinn are what's most important, because you can mix and match Djinn to unlock new classes for your characters. A system that I personally didn't dabble in much myself, as I'm more of a traditional pair the Djinn with the adept of that style kinda guy, but class switching can grant access to some truly powerful synergy that you normally wouldn't be able to access if you kept every Djinn of an adept of the same abilities. You can mix and match up to 3 different Djinn types per adept, and I encourage players to mix and match and experiment on their own to come up with classes that they personally enjoy using. However, I would like the class system to be more heavily explained in a future game. As in all 3 games in the franchise, they barely explain the class system and most players will be unaware of the ability to shift classes, so to speak. Moving on to Djinn themselves, each Djinn has a different ability in battle that you can use. Some are offensive, like a powerful strike to the enemy. Some change stats, lowering an enemy's attack or boosting team defense. Some are defensive, summoning barriers that will protect your party from attacks for a turn, and some are healers, healing, reviving, or getting rid of status ailments that affect your party. Djinn are tied prior to battle to an adept of your choice, meaning if that adept falls in battle, those Djinn are locked off from being used until you can revive the adept. However, what makes Djinn so interesting is that when you use a Djinn in battle, it goes into standby mode. Your stats will lower slightly, but when a Djinn is in standby mode, it can be used to summon. Summons are powerful attacks that you can summon by using various amounts of Djinn placed on standby. In the original Golden Sun, there were 16 different summons, 4 per element, and each attack took 1, 2, 3, or 4 Djinn on standby to summon. In the Lost Age, summon tablets were introduced, which brought about summons that required 2 different Djinn types to summon, such as 1 Mars and 2 Jupiter Djinn, for example. Summons are immensely powerful and extremely fun to watch, as their animations are enjoyable and exciting. Dark Dawn really went above and beyond when it came to summon animations, to the point where you could see just how much fun the developers were having translating these 2D sprites from the first 2 games into 3D spectacles for Dark Dawn. And of course, some summons were locked off by optional super bosses, some of the hardest fights in the Lost Age and Dark Dawn. These fights were brilliant, and I urge the developers to include more of these in a potential sequel. The battle mechanics in these games sound complicated, but in practice are pretty straightforward, and I don't think these mechanics need to be changed so much as they need to be explained a bit better, especially with reclassing characters. One aspect of battles that isn't relevant in Golden Sun, but more the 2 sequel games, is the ability to have 8 party members, all of which can be utilized in battle. Unlike Final Fantasy VII, for example, where you have to pick which characters you want to fight with, in Golden Sun you can mix and match, switch adepts around, and plan effectively, as once one party falls, the other party instantly comes out to fight. The Lost Age handled this ability the best, as you get to a point in the game where your party from the first game joins up with the party from the second game, meaning you are already familiar with all 8 characters at that point, especially if you transferred your party from the first game to the second, which I highly recommend doing. Make sure you've got every Djinn collected in the first game for access to a special dungeon that requires every Djinn from both games in the second. Dark Dawn is a little iffier when it comes to the 8 party members though, as while we certainly learn about a lot of these characters and have great moments with each of them, fleshing out their characters and abilities, not all of them get the same treatment. Himi, the final character you obtain in Dark Dawn, feels extremely underdeveloped in comparison to the rest of the cast. By comparison, Amity is with you for the entirety of the Passage storyline, so you get to know him really well. Sveta is a fairly main character in the story due to her role in Belinsk, and Iolio has a built-in backstory as he's a returning character from the Lost Age, albeit he was a toddler then and he's a fully grown adult now, but still. My point stands. By extension, Himi fell flat. She relates to characters from the Lost Age, but it just doesn't hold the same weight for me, and I think if Golden Sun is going to continue using the 8-character party gimmick, every character needs to be fleshed out to the same extent. Maybe a Fire Emblem support system that lets your party members have private conversations if they fight together long enough could flesh the characters out? I think that would be a great way of countering the fact that a lot of the characters in these games just don't get fleshed out enough. So, to finalize, in a potential sequel I'd like to see Dark Dawn's dialogue system, an overworld that can be explored at any point in the game with no cutoffs, dungeons and puzzles that utilize the powers of synergy in exciting ways, and new synergy to access, new summons to collect, and super bosses to defeat, and a more in-depth explanation of the class system. And if they choose to keep the 8 party members gimmick, find a way to flesh out every character, and try not to give party members to the player right near the end of the game where they don't have time to form a bond with the character. All of these changes would make a brilliant Golden Sun game, and for me, that's all I can really ask for. Hopefully, I've been able to explain why these games are so much fun, and why the series truly needs to return. Thank you for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to go tweet out your support for Golden Sunday with the hashtags Golden Sunday and hashtag #BringBackGoldenSun, or Bring Golden Sun Back. And consider following the Golden Sun Revival Twitter account, which you can find down below. If you haven't already, consider checking out my Discord if you're interested in hanging out. And before I go, I want to give a massive shout out to 2 new patrons, MarioFan1lol and Paperalbe Ciao, who pledged $1 and $5 respectively. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.